Good morning, everyone. I've been asked to show people an easy way to do Lewis structures. So I'm going to do it in separate videos. The first one is just the normal ones with not the exceptions to the octet rules, etc. So this is just for most of the Lewis structures. What you have to remember is, one thing that you need to remember is that for the octet, there are exceptions. There are elements that don't need 8 around them to be full. They are hydrogen, beryllium, which only needs 4, hydrogen needs 2, and boron, aluminium, and tin. If you have that in a molecule, then it needs 6 to have a full octet. They are the exceptions of the rule, and you have to remember them. Now, the method that I use is called the Nasl method. The N stands for number of octets. So when you look at the formula, SO2, you see that you need 8 valence electrons or 8 electrons for a full octet for sulfur. Then for oxygen, you will also need 8, but you've got 2 oxygens, so you have to multiply that by 2, which means in total for SO2, you will need 24 electrons to have a full octet. So the number of electrons for a full octet is 24. The A stands for the actual number of valence electrons that you have. So sulfur is in group 6. It has 6 valence electrons. That's the electrons in the outer shell. Oxygen is also in group 6, and it also has 6, but you've got 2 of them. So if you add all these electrons together, the 12 plus the 6 gives you 18 electrons. So you actually have 18 valence electrons, but you need 24 to have a full octet. That means they'll have to share electrons to have a full octet. Now, to find out how many electrons you need to share, you take this 24 minus this 18 that you have. That means 6 of your electrons are going to have to share in order to make up the 24 to have a full octet. 18 plus 6 is going to give you the 24 that you need, right? So you need 6 electrons to share. So if 6 has to share, you divide it by 2, that means you're going to need 3 bonds in order for the sharing to take place. So the third step is to find out how many shared electrons you have, because that will also help you to know how many bonds you're going to need. The L part of this method is to calculate how many lone electrons you have. Now remember, there's two electrons in a lone pair, just like there's 2 electrons in a valence electron pair. So if you want to know how many lone electrons you have, you take this 18, the actual electrons that you have, the valence electrons, minus the 6 that you are going to share, which means the leftover electrons are going to be the lone electrons that's not going to be sharing, right? Which means that gives you roughly 6 pairs of electrons, right? So once you have this, it means that you are now ready to draw the Lewis structure. Now, to draw this Lewis structure, it means that I need to have 3 bonds. So that means that I will have my element, my center atom. Now, the center atom is always going to be the one furthest away from the fluorine. So that would be the sulfur. Sulfur is going to be my center atom, and it needs 3 bonds. If I look at my formula, I see that I need 2 oxygen. So 2 oxygens are going to share 3 bonds. That means that I would have a single bond and I would have a double bond, because I only have 2 oxygens that can share those bonds. So one of them will be a single bond, one is going to be a double bond. At least now I have my basic structure ready. The second step is to go and put all the electrons in around these atoms so that they're all happy, so they all have full octets. So if I look at this where they are sharing, that's 2 electrons. Then that means 4, 6, and 8 electrons. So this oxygen is happy because now it's got 8. This one, 2, 4, 6, 8. So this oxygen is also happy. And then if I look at my sulfur, I see that there's only 3, 2, 4, 6, 3 shared. That's 6 electrons. And I see that I need 12 lone electrons, which is 6 pairs of electrons. Now, if you count your lone electrons, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, you can see I only have 10 now, and I need 12, which means the last 2 electrons are the ones that's going to be sitting right on top of the sulfur. And there you go. That is your Lewis structure. You use these basic calculations in order to find all the basic information about this structure, what it will look like. It has to have 3 bonds, how many lone electrons there need to be. This is the important part. And then how much do you have? And once you do that, then you'll know also that you need to have a double bond somewhere, because you only have 2 oxygens. That means one of them would have to be a double bond, because you have to have 3 bonds in this Lewis structure. I hope this has helped. In my next video, I will discuss exceptions to the octet rule and what you do then.